Hello,
Hi.
how are you?
Very good. Well, where's your glass? You have your glass ready?
I've got all my glasses, all three
Perfect.
wines. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. So, welcome to the Wine Drinkers podcast with myself, Sparkling Sophie. As you know, there are two only rules. The first rule is quick answers,
Yeah.
and the second rule is after each question, I'm going to have a sip of wine, and after
Okay.
each answer, you'll be having a sip of wine.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good. And there'll be
Perfect.
very quick answers because I haven't prepared. So I thought it's better not to think about it before I do it.
Oh gosh. Have you read the questions at all?
Yeah, quickly. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, first question. You are masters of wine. So, for anyone who is not aware of what that means, could you explain it briefly?
Yes, the Master of Wine is a mostly professional examination. And that is, it was founded in the UK, but now there are masters all over the world, masters of wine all over the world. It's an exam, and there are 409 masters in the world. And it's a difficult exam because there are 4 written papers and 3 tasting papers, and then what's effectively a dissertation, a research paper. So a lot of people start it, and not many people pass. So it is difficult, and the pass rate is low. But it's a professional qualification, effectively, which says that you know everything about wine. No, you don't. You know a fair bit about wine, and you can taste professionally, analytically, and that's all it is, really.
And the length of time, you would say, from beginning to the end?
It depends on the person, really. Some people, I mean, I passed it quite quickly, but some people take a long time, and some people never pass. So it's a bit of a how long is a piece of string question. So it's very difficult to say what the median time for passing it is, because some people don't pass at all. To be honest, I don't know what the pass rate is now, but probably 20%, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
I
not sure
I'm
anymore.
not sure either, so
Yeah. Don't do it. Don't do it. Too much like hard work. Right, sip of wine. There we go.
Yes, sip of wine. I'm proud of you. You remembered.
Hmm.
Okay,
I'm
so
drinking this, which is very nice. Laborie. I've got three
are you
three South
enjoying it?
African ones. This is very good. It's a very good value wine. It was in my South Africa report last year, and it's very nice. Yeah,
Glad you like it.
yeah.
Can you take me through the process of becoming a Masters of Wine? So you just told me like a few different things, but the exams, can you just like elaborate on this a tiny bit?
Yeah, the exam you take in 1 week, and you do the written exam in the afternoon, and it's where it used to be, at the tasting exam in the morning. So they're quite long days, and a lot of it is about stamina. In terms of preparation, again, some people spend years doing it. The way I did it was that for 4 months it was my job. So every day I got up and I did it for 8 hours, and that was how I did the work for it. But I'm a strange person because I like exams.
Okay.
I quite enjoy exams, and not everybody enjoys exams. So I thought exams were quite good fun. Um, so the process is very individual. In that there's not a lot of. I mean, there are course days where you go along, but there's not a syllabus as such. It's just that you just have to kind of make it up and look at past papers and teach yourself. Really, a lot of it is self study, or if not, it's not self study. It's studying in groups with friends. So it's very important to have a support network of friends who study with you. Really.
And I guess a lot of drinking.
Obviously, a lot of tasting. Yeah, I mean that's the good thing about being a journalist, is that you get lots of wine sent to you, so that side of it is less expensive. I think if you're somebody who doesn't work in the wine business, and most people who do work in the wine business, but if you don't have access to wine, then it's very expensive to buy all of these wines. Really.
Your sip, yes, you are amazing. You don't realize how many people actually forget to take a sip each time after they
There you go.
answer.
But there are a lot of
So yeah.
questions. I'm going to be drunk.
Okay. Why did you initially decide to become a master of wine?
Because I like exams, and also because people I knew had passed it, um, and I thought, oh, I can pass it, which is probably a bit arrogant, but I thought I can pass it, so I decided that I would do it. And I like testing myself, really. I like challenges, and it was a challenge. And as I said, I quite like exams, so that's why I did it. But also, I thought that I'm a journalist, obviously, but I thought that if I ever wanted to stop being a journalist and work in the wine business, I don't, but if I did, then it would be a useful qualification, because it means that you have a certain level of knowledge. That's all. I mean, it doesn't mean you're the greatest taster in the world. or that you know more than lots of people who don't do it, but it just means that you have a basic level of competence, I would say.
No, absolutely. And there's so much challenges to get to where you are. So fantastic. I mean, congratulations on where you are today. I mean,
It's a
I'm
long time
so
ago.
honored to be interviewing you today.
Are you doing it?
No, I've been doing my so I was midway doing my diploma, my WST diploma, and unfortunately my dad passed away. So
I'm sorry.
so yeah, things kind of got paused for a
Okay.
little bit.
Yeah.
And then because I'm doing all of this, I'm just like focusing on
That sounds like a good idea.
Did you have your sip?
Was that another question?
Yes, it was.
All right, okay, right. Red, sit.
Perfect.
Okay.
From what country was the first wine you ever drank?
Oh, it's a good question. I don't know exactly. My guess was it was probably Mateus Rosé from Portugal, because I know that my parents used to drink Mateus Rosé. They didn't drink much in the way of wine, but they did drink Mateus Rosé. So I think I might have had a little sip of Mateus Rosé when I was probably 14. Illegal.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. It's very legal in France.
Mm.
One of your passions.
Everything is legal. Everything is legal in France. We know that you French.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yes, when I was a baby, I was putting my dummy in.
There we go. The French. Look at the French. That's why the French are happier than we are.
One of your passions is photography. I would love you to tell me your favorite subjects to photograph, and maybe can we expect a Tim Atkin exhibition very soon?
Well, I've done quite a few exhibitions, including one in Chalon-sur-Saône, home of photography, where Nicéphore Niepce was from. And there were 3 photographers 2 years ago who were chosen for the Pully, and I was one of them. So my pictures were all over Chalon, very big.
Oh, wow.
And I've done a one in the Lebanon, I've done one in Argentina, I've done a few exhibitions. My next thing is to do a book, really. I'd like to do a book. So I think I'll do a photography book. What do I like taking pictures of? Mostly people. I mean, I don't think I'm a very good landscape photographer because I'm not very patient. So I don't have the patience to sit there for hours and hours and hours waiting for the light to change. And the way I do photography is it complements what I do as a wine writer. So I often find I'm taking a picture while I'm talking to somebody or just after I talk to somebody. So I'm used to taking pictures quickly of people. And I really like doing portraiture because I think it's interesting to just look at light and to try to capture somebody's personality in a photograph, you know, without because everybody, when you take a picture of them, goes, right? And so I try and get a picture of them when they're not going.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yes, absolutely.
So it's not too forced, and I think that's the hardest thing. So yeah, photography, and I've changed a bit in the last few years that I'm doing more and more black and white portraits. I just kind of like what they bring to the image, really. So
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you actually done an exhibition in London at all?
Yes, I did one in a wine bar. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've not done a big one, as it were, but I mean, people have shown my images in various places, but yeah, no, I should do a bigger one, but I do a book.
Okay. Yeah, but if you ever want to do an exhibition in London, let me know, and I'll call a couple of people.
You can organise it.
Yeah, I can organise it. I'd love to.
Okay,
but I would love you to take my portrait as well one day.
Okay, it's a deal. I will.
Oh, perfect. Yay.
Yeah. Whenever you want. Photo. Black and white.
Yay. Perfect.
Yeah.
So what is something no one knows about you?
Oh, I'll tell you something no one knows, or very few people know about me. I don't think anybody knows this, is that when I was 8, I won a cup for flower arranging.
Wow.
Because my mother was very artistic. My mother was a sculptress. She used to do sculpture and painting, and she liked arranging flowers. And so she entered this competition, and I used to go along with her. And so I got to do my own little flower arrangement, which my mother helped me with, obviously, and I won. So I was the champion flower arranger, aged 8. And I still have the cup. The cup is about that big.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Your tip?
Oh shit! Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So you're an incredible writer. Describe the
That's
three
very kind of you.
feelings. Well, you are.
Thank you.
Describe the three feelings that writing gives to you.
Oh, that's a difficult question. It obviously gives me pleasure. I like the physical experience of writing. I like the creativity of it. I mean, it might amuse people to think that journalism is creative, because a lot of journalism is not very creative, but I'm not really a news journalist, so I think that. And a sense of self-confidence, because I know it's something I'm reasonably good at, but also I enjoy it. So, it's pleasure for me. I know that for some writers find it very painful, and I don't find it painful. I find it physically quite a pleasurable experience. Not typing, but I mean using my brain to create words. And the other thing I think about writing is it's musical. If you like music, and I love music, then I think that words have sounds. And if you read really good writers, I'm not including myself in that, obviously, but if you read great writers, then their gift is often a gift for music, for sound, because they understand what words sound like. And if you listen, if you read a lot of great writers aloud, you really hear just the poetry and the cadences of what they're saying. And not all writers are good at reading their own writing. If you listen to Philip Larkin, who I love as a poet, is actually a very boring person to listen to reading his writing, and other people are wonderful. But if you listen to really good people reading, Yeats or Eliot or whatever, then you just get a sense of the beauty of the language. Or Baudelaire in French, that Baudelaire, the musicality of the words is almost as important as what they mean. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, no, that absolutely makes sense. I just like the depth in which you have explained that. It's actually giving me goosebumps. I'm a writer myself. And so I've written a couple of books recently.
Oh, good.
Because, of lockdown and everything, and it kept my mind busy. And it's just such a beautiful feeling that it gives inside of you. And I just really, really enjoy it.
I think it's it's the same with me with photography. It's something creative. And I think that and so much of what we do in life is not creative, that doing something creative is liberating in a way. It just you're expressing yourself, you're expressing a bit of your heart, your soul, your personality, and
absolutely,
and
your whole soul goes into it.
Most of the time, that's a good thing. I didn't have another sip because that was the same answer.
I did see. Don't worry, I'm monitoring your sips.
All right, good.
What do you do when you need to find inspiration?
What do I need to find inspiration? I would say listen to music, actually. I find music is very inspirational for me. I know some people get that inspiration from nature, and I get that a bit, but I'm a city person. I think I'm more likely to find inspiration from being around people and being in a bar or being in a restaurant. I love nature, and sometimes I find it very moving, but I don't spend enough time in nature, really. I'm very urban as a person. So I think that music and people really would be my answer.
Okay.
Quick.
Very good.
This is very good. I like this. This is the Pictus 6, which is a blend, isn't it? It's Chenin Viognier and what else? Grenache Blanc.
Grenache Blanc, yes.
New South Africa in a way, in that you've got the acidity of the Grenache Blanc. You've got Chenin, which is a classic South African grape variety, and just that little twist of Viognier. It's a very nice wine. Yeah.
Yay. If you could choose 2 inspirational people from the world to drink wine with, who would they be?
Do they have to be alive or dead?
They can be alive or they can be dead.
I think if they were dead, I would probably choose. I'd like Mandela. I've never met Mandela.
Mandela.
I think Mandela would be a fun person to drink with. Oh, there he is. I didn't notice that.
So do you know Ndaba Mandela? He's a grandson of Nelson Mandela, and he's written this book, Going to a Mountain, which I'm reading at the moment. And he's actually one of my guests on my podcast.
Wow. Well, okay. Nelson Mandela would be one person. I think the other would probably be a great artist. You know, it would probably be, you could choose someone like Leonardo, who had such an amazing brain and was not just a painter or a sculptor, or Michelangelo, same thing. But yeah, I think I want someone a bit naughtier, so I think I might choose Caravaggio, because Caravaggio was dangerous. You know, I love Caravaggio's art, and Caravaggio is one of the few painters where I would travel to a place just to see a Caravaggio painting. I once went to Naples to see a painting called The Taking of Christ, which is one of the greatest paintings in the world, and it's at the end of a long corridor. No, sorry, not The Taking of Christ, The Flagellation of Christ. The Taking of Christ is in Dublin. I've also been to Dublin to see that painting. So I would say Caravaggio, because Caravaggio is the only artist I've ever traveled to go and look at one painting.
Thank
Twice.
you. Well, it's good to know.
And I think Caravaggio was fun, you know, I mean, probably dangerous, you know, and he was wanted for murder, and he was involved in all sorts of crime and things like that. But I think a bit of Caravaggio would be fun. Or maybe we should have a fun woman. I mean, you know, someone like Dorothy Parker, someone who would make you laugh. I mean, I think she would have been great. I think I'd be more tempted to go for that kind of woman than somebody very beautiful like Catherine Deneuve or something. I'd love to meet Catherine Deneuve. She's dead now.
Oh, Catherine Deneuve. Think, what do you mean she's dead? She's not dead?
Oh no, good. I'm pleased to hear it. Oh, good. Well, Catherine Deneuve. I thought she was dead. Brigitte Bardot. You know, I mean, someone like that who's super sexy and French. You know, would be great. But Catherine Deneuve, yeah, she'd be good. I'd have her as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's try to make it happen. Actually, a little drink. Deneuve. Yeah, Catherine Deneuve, Brigitte Bardot, me, you.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Brigitte Bardot's still alive?
Yes, she is.
Oh no, that's two of them. If you can get Brigitte Bardot and Catherine Deneuve to come to your flat, I'd be very impressed.
But we could go to south of France and try and arrange a meeting over there. What would you say?
Yeah, we doorstep them. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I shall try.
A friend of mine once went all the way to Spain to see Salvador Dali, and he knocked on the door and said, "Hello, is Mr. Dali in?" And his housekeeper said, "Yes, who wants him?" And he said, "My name is Peter." And she came back and she said, "Mr. Dali would like to invite you for drinks this evening at 6 o'clock." So he went and had drinks with him. And he just knocked on the door and he said, "We've come all the way from England and we're art students and we want to meet Salvador Dali." So they had drinks with him.
That is fantastic. And that is a typical story of, you know, for me, it's an inspiration. Whatever you do in life, all you risk is a no. Just try, give it a go.
Chutzpah.
And that's it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what is something you can't do but would love to be able to do?
I would like to be able to play the piano very well. I started and I did about 3 years, and it was very hard because I was older, and your fingers just don't do what you want them to do, basically. And I think I have a musical gift, but I found it very difficult learning. I mean, I did grade 1, and it was very funny because I went into the exam room and I opened the door, and the person who's been in the exam room before you usually see them come out. And I looked around for this person, and the person was so small, they were under the level of the door handle because they were about 3. Maybe they were 4. So they were like a 4-year-old doing this exam, and I was doing the exam in my 40s and kind of pretending on it. And I'd love to be a great pianist, and I won't be.
No, it's never too late.
It is.
No, I believe in you. I used to do piano, and I stopped as well. And I would love to be able to ameliorate myself someday.
Yeah. Well, not too late. You do it.
When tasting the wine or producer, you could really have a big impact on their life. So what is your best memory when announcing to someone that you were going to give them a high score for their wine?
I mean, I never announce it to them in advance. You know, I'll tell you a story that quite a few things like this happen, and you do realize that you have an influence on people's lives. I'll tell you something about in Spain that I wrote about a wine, and it was my discovery of the year. In other words, it's the first time I tasted this vintage, and the guy sent me a note afterwards, and he said, "You will never know how important that was to me." He said, "Because my wife has been very ill with cancer, and we haven't shared this with anybody at all." And he said, "Just that award today has lifted her morale and made her much happier." Obviously, you don't know this when you're tasting the wine, but you're aware that sometimes you have an impact on people's lives, which is which is scary actually, a little bit. You know, I mean, all I'm trying to do is be honest and give a wine a review and a score that it deserves, and be a journalist really. But you know, sometimes you get these things where you think, shit, I really changed somebody's life, or you find a young producer and you say, this guy is amazing, or this woman is amazing, and you back them, and they just get better and better and better and better, and not thanks to me, but your help.
You gave them that push, yes.
Well, you give them a little bit of a push at the beginning, you know, and that you. And I think it's a very important part of being a critic, is not to say Chateau Lafite is great. Everybody knows Chateau Lafite is great. It's much harder to spot people who are beginning in wine, and to spot their talent, and to say, this person's really good and they're going to be great. I mean, I've been reading some theatre reviews by a guy called Kenneth Tynan, who was a very famous reviewer in the 1950s in England and 60s. And it's really interesting reading him on things like Waiting for Godot, you know, En attendant Godot, which was a very revolutionary play. And the really good critics, and you know, I'm not saying I'm Tynan, I'm really not, but they recognize something really original and unusual, and they recognize for what it is in its time, not 20 years later when everybody says Samuel Beckett's great. They recognize it at the time that it happens. And I think that's an important thing with wine, is to recognize talent at the beginning of its arc, if you like. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think you have that gift, Tim.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you, Sophie. I mean, I do my best. Yeah.
What about the most fun moment you have ever had in your life with wine?
Oh, it's funny. I mean, I'm good friends with Oz Clarke, and occasionally I don't do it so much these days. We used to go on trips a lot together, and he had this phrase where he often used to say, "Where would you rather be?" Right? So we'd be standing somewhere, I don't know, in the Languedoc or in the Rhone or in Burgundy or in Argentina, and you say, where would you rather be? And I think one of my happiest moments was with Oz, and he said, where would you rather be? And we were in Salta, which is in northern Argentina, which is one of the great wine drives of the world. If you drive from Cafayate to Molinos up in the hills of the Andes, and you go through something that looks like the Grand Canyon, and we stopped off and took some pictures and farted about. And Oz said, where would you rather be? And I thought, where would you rather be? And the answer is nowhere. And sometimes wine does that to you. It transports you to a place. Even if you're just drinking it, you think, where would I rather be? Here, right now, you know, wine with friends. Wine is a great gift. And I think the opportunity to travel, and that where would you rather be, is something we should all ask ourselves from time to time, because I think it's very easy at the moment to be a bit depressed, and we're all thinking, oh God, COVID, can't travel, miserable, can't go out, you know, 10 o'clock curfew. But, you know, we're healthy, touch wood, and, you know, we have our friends and our family, and so stay positive, everybody, and just say to yourself, where would you rather be? Sip.
Yes, absolutely. And I really believe in being in the present, living in the moment.
Exactly. Petit verre d'eau, very nice. With a high score from me, and excellent. No, exactly. Live it, carpe diem. You know, I mean, I think it's true that you know, that I think Buddhists say, live every day as if it were your last, because one day you'll be right. So, you know, I shouldn't laugh. Yeah. That wasn't another sip. Right. Yeah.
Okay, where is the most memorable place you have ever drank wine? So I guess it comes back a little bit to the last question I asked you and the way you answered, that you find every place you drink the most memorable in one way, because of being in the moment. But if there was one memorable place, would there be one at all?
I don't think I have one memorable place. I think I have lots of memorable places. I mean, by and large, the places I write about are the places I like traveling to. So you know, I wasn't selfish. I was, you know, I just thought, well, I write about places I like going to. So the places I write about are those. Funnily enough, I mean, one of those, you know, where would you rather be moments, I remember years ago was in a cooperative in a place called Montsant, which is in near Priorat. And we were with some people from the cooperative, and you know, their families had made this sausage from local, you know, pork that they killed of sheep. Sorry, what do you call them, pigs? And you know, we went up into the hills, and they cooked these sausages on rosemary and thyme and lavender on an open barbecue, and we drank Montsant. And the Mediterranean atmosphere is something I love. It's a landscape I love. So something like that would be very memorable. But I've probably got hundreds of memories like that, where a place, the people, the weather, the company, the wine, the food, all of those things are part of the same thing. I don't think I'd ever say there's one place where I feel happiest. You know, I love Burgundy, I love the Rhone, I love Chile, I love Argentina, I love South Africa, you know, I love Tuscany. I mean, there are lots of places I like going to. So yeah.
Amazing. Your sip?
Sip. Oh shit. Yeah.
What are both the oldest vintage wine and the most unusual wine you have ever tried?
That's a good question. The oldest I've had was an 1863 Madeira, a Boile. In fact, I've got the bottle up there. Where is it? Up there on my shelf. You can't really see that.
No, I can't see it.
Those are all there. If you look up there, you can see all my.
Yes, I can now.
So some of my dead bottles are up there. 1863. The weirdest wine I've ever had, I think, was last week. That I was tasting with some friends, and I had an Egyptian Barbera.
Wow.
Have you ever had an Egyptian Barbera?
No, absolutely not. No.
Okay. I had an Egyptian Barbera. There you go. And that was the most unusual one I've had. I think I've had a wine from Thailand it was a Thai wine with a lizard inside it, a dead lizard.
Oh, yes.
That's probably up there. Then what else? I've had wines from Bolivia. That's pretty weird, isn't it? From Sweden, from Zimbabwe, from Denmark. But I think probably the Thai wine with the lizard inside, the dead lizard, would be up there.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Oh, sip. Yeah.
Yes. How many wines? Oh, actually, so we are both drinking South African wines today, okay?
Yeah.
So you have recently written a report on South Africa for the year 2020. Yet another one. Another wonderful one, which I've been reading.
Thank you very much.
Could you tell me 5 things which people can expect to find out when reading your report?
Yes, I could. I would say that in some ways it's quite pessimistic about where South Africa is at the moment. South Africa's, I mean, I shouldn't begin by saying it's pessimistic, but it's a very honest appraisal of the South African economy and the impact that COVID has had, particularly on the wine industry. The second thing that I say in the report was that South Africa is making the best wines in its history, and I really believe that. I think South Africa is making some absolutely incredible wines right now. Value for money. I think South Africa is of all the New World regions, making the best wines for your money. Yeah, I would say that. The fourth thing I would say is that Chenin Blanc is one of the great varieties of the world. I mean, obviously we know it from the Loire Valley, but people don't necessarily recognize it in South Africa. And South Africa there's more of it than there is in the Loire Valley. That would be my fourth thing. The fifth thing is that there are 2 100-point wines in my report this year. I've never given 2 100-point wines. In fact, I've given very few 100-point wines. One other to South Africa before, and I gave 2 this year. One to a Chenin Blanc and the other to a Syrah. So I suppose that would be the things they could find if they please buy my report, because then you keep me alive and in wine. Thank you.
Absolutely. Buy Tim's report.
Thank you, Sophie. You rock.
How many wines did you have to try in order to complete your report?
This year I did about 1,400. I think it was 1,380 or something. Last year I did more because I went to South Africa, and this year I couldn't go to South Africa, so I had to do it from the UK. So I did it with samples and with Zoom tastings. That's
still quite amazing, the amount of wines you went through.
It's a lot of wines, yeah, over 3 weeks, and we tasted about 85 a day, and then there were 3 Zoom calls a day. So yeah, you get used to doing it, but it's quite tiring on your body to be tasting that much wine. I find that when I'm doing the International Wine Challenge I'm going to do in a few weeks' time, is just physically tasting that many wines a day is quite tough.
Is it actually going to happen face to face, or no?
I think so. It's supposed to be. Yeah, it's quite soon. 3 weeks. I think we're going to have a lot of social distancing and your own spittoon, but I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
How many South African yearly reports have you written so far?
That's a good question, and the answer is it's either 8 or 9. I can't remember. I always forget. Yeah, can't remember. I think the first one is 2000.
Let's go for 9.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 8. Done 8.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't just do South Africa. I do Argentina, Chile, Rioja, Burgundy, Ribera del Duero. I did Uruguay this year as well for the first time, which was good fun.
Is there another country you want to add to your list of reports?
I don't have time really. I mean, it's almost, if I can't divide myself in two. If I could, then I'd do more. I mean, I'd love to do Barolo. I love Barolo, but I just don't really have time to do it. And I don't speak Italian. Oh, sorry. And I don't speak Italian, sadly.
Not yet. That's again something you can do.
I could learn Italian because I speak French and I speak Spanish, and I can understand Italian. But you'd have to live there for a year and study it. But you could do that. Yeah.
Except wine, tell me 3 things that inspire you the most from South Africa.
Oh, I would say the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the food. And I would say the people. Actually, I like South Africans. I'm very fond of South Africans. South Africans are tremendous. They've got spirit. Definitely. I think that
you probably will disagree. However, people who don't know me think I'm South African.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, but everybody who's more in touch with South Africa or who's South African, they're like, no, of course you're not. You're so French. But other people are always like, oh, you sound South African.
Well, your English is very good, so you could be. You could be Huguenot, a Huguenot South African. Possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'd say those. I love South Africa. I love going there. I always like writing about countries that are complex.
Mm-hmm.
Where I mean I love Germany, but I'd find Germany more boring to write about because it's quite a safe and well organized place. Mm-hmm. Argentina is a bit of a chaotic. South Africa is comparatively chaotic. Chile now is chaotic. I never thought I'd say that. Spain is a bit chaotic. I think there's a Latin side to me that I kind of like, those slightly madder countries. I think I'm not very Germanic or Anglo-Saxon. Sorry. That's it.
Yeah, I think today we've really established that you like danger, challenges. You're really an adventurous soul.
Oh, I don't know about that, but yeah, possibly. I think I'm more Mediterranean than English. I think I mean Argentinians think I'm very Argentinian.
Wow. Okay.
They say I have not the way I speak Spanish, but somebody said to me that I had Argentinidad, so in other words, Argentinianness.
So your wife is South African.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember the wine?
She could have been one of the 3 people I added, but yeah, she was in the people.
Yes, she could have been, couldn't she?
She was in the people. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you remember the wine you both had on your first date together, and where was it?
Yes, I do actually. It was at the Young Vic, in the bar at the Young Vic, and we had cocktails together, because if you go on a date, it was a bit of a blind date. You don't want to. You just want to have a cocktail and escape, right? You don't want to have dinner or something like that. And I took her a bottle of Steenberg Semillon from South Africa. I knew she was going on for dinner, so I gave her the bottle and said, "Oh, you should have this with your friends at dinner."
Aww.
That was a bottle that I gave her.
Wow.
Yeah,
nice.
I hope she appreciated it.
Well, it looks like it. She married you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and double sip, because there was 2 questions in one.
Oh no, God, I'm going to finish the paper. I've got my fire on as well.
Oh yes, I know. I wish I had a fire over here, a fireplace, but I don't. How many yearly reports have you written in the totality of your career?
Well, I don't know. I started doing them in 2010 because I used to have a weekly column on a newspaper, on the Observer, and they cut it to that big, so I left in 2010 and I started doing reports. How many have I done? I've probably done, I would say, an average of 5 or 6 a year since then. So probably 50, 55 reports, on all sorts of places, really.
Okay, wow.
It's a lot, isn't it? I mean, they're a lot of work. But, I've basically created an alternative career which is outside newspapers and magazines, because magazines, as you know, pay very badly and very late. And newspapers, there just aren't many columns anymore, really. It's a shame.
Fair enough. Did you have your sip?
Oh, shit, no.
If I was to ask you how many wines you think you have had approximately during all of your wine career, could you give me a rough number?
Well, let's think. I mean, I probably do, let's say I do let's say 400 a month. Would that be fair? Probably more than that. But let's say 500 a month. That's 6,000 a year. And I've been doing this for 30 years, although I wasn't that many wines. So yeah, six 6,000 times 30 is 180,000 wines, isn't it?
Yes, something like that. Yes, 180,000. Yeah, so approximately 180,000
Let's
wines.
say, say 250,000 wines. There's a lot of wines, isn't there?
Yes,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
is a
You
lot.
nearly knocked your thing off the wall. You were
I
so
know. You shocked me, and yes, my lovely little thing on the
yeah,
wall
we don't want it to fall
almost fell on
off.
my head.
No, we don't want that. No.
No, please don't. Okay, so with the amount of wine drinking required for anyone working in the wine industry, would it be wise to say that having a fitness routine is something which is very important?
I think being aware of how much you eat and drink is a good thing. I probably drink too much. I like drinking. I like the sensation of drinking. I like drinking with my friends and with other people. Before lockdown, I was going to the gym a lot. When lockdown started, I was running a lot. And now I'm sort of a bit wary of the gym. So I'm still trying to keep fit, but I'm not as fit as I probably was. But I was unusual. I lost weight during lockdown. I suspect probably for not traveling and not eating when I'm traveling. Because usually when you travel, you don't do exercise and you have a big lunch and a big dinner and a big breakfast. And so you put on weight a bit. So
and you play golf as well, don't you?
I play golf as well. So yeah. So I think now is the time to maybe and golf is good exercise. I walk a lot. So I think now is the time to maybe get back into it a bit more. Footing.
Yeah, no, I think you're doing good with the running, the golf, even if the gym was before all the lockdown happened.
I'm going next Monday because I'm just a bit scared of the gym at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I'm not going to a gym at the moment. I'm just doing my own thing, my little sparkling Sophie dancing.
Yeah, well, you do. You're good at that. That's how you stay fit.
And yeah, a bit of golf sometimes as well in Richmond, and also tennis. I love sport in general, so. Okay, so what 2 wine books would you recommend to anyone who is not knowledgeable in wine yet?
I could give you a really boring answer and say read a basic book on wine, but I think that would not be very interesting, to be honest. I would read something that's a better book about that's actually got a good story. So I think I would probably read The Billionaire's Vinegar, which is a very good book, which is a very good book about fakes in the world of wine. That would be really interesting because it's intrigue. And then I'd probably read a book called the Rise and Fall of the House of Mondavi. So it's a business book about the Mondavis, who were a California wine family, and it was about their rise and their fall. So both of those books are very good books to read about wine. And then after that, if you want to read a basic book, I wouldn't read a book, I'd do a course. Like there's loads of stuff free online now. You can just do tastings, the kind of stuff we're doing, where there are people doing that every night. There's somebody doing an Instagram tasting, and just learn from that. But if you want to actually read books that are good to read, I would read those 2 books. So The Billionaire's Vinegar and The Rise and Fall of the House of Mondavi.
I have never read Billionaire's Vinegar, but this is going to be on my list now. I'm going to have to pour myself a tiny bit more wine.
Okay.
Yep. Let's do this.
Did you finish all these drunk?
No, because I am a lady of sophistication who knows how to handle my drink. When you're in the wine industry anyway, you know how to handle your drink. But yes, I am very jolly.
Okay, good to know.
What are your favorite 2 movies, and which wines would you be matching them with?
Oh, that's a good question. Favorite 2 movies. I really like Les Enfants du Paradis, and you know that, a very famous French film set. It was actually filmed during the Second World War, but it's set in the 19th century, and it's about it's everything really. It's kind of crime and acting and love and passion and all sorts of stuff. And so I would drink something French with that, and I'd probably have a Burgundy. So something like a Musigny or a Chambertin, maybe a Musigny from I don't know, Christophe Roumier. How about that? I also like very much One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson. Okay. And I think with that, I would probably drink a beer. I think I'd have a beer from, I don't know, how about a craft beer from Oregon or Washington State or something like that. I'd have something fun like that, basically.
Fantastic. I love your French references as well. I did not expect that.
Ah, well, there you go. I studied French, so there we go. I've lived in France.
Yeah, now I know.
Yeah. Nice.
So I can't be speaking French without you not understanding. I would love to know your views on ethnic diversity in the wine world. So could you take me through any steps you think should be taken in order to bring in more diversity?
Yeah, I mean, I think ethnic diversity is not good enough in the wine trade. I think it's overwhelmingly white. I think it's also male dominated, but that's changed a lot, actually. I would say that in my kind of 30 years of writing about it, women, if anything, in the wine trade, I know that some people complain about this, but in wine writing and wine buying and masters of wine, I think that women have done comparatively well. Doesn't mean it can't be better. It could be better, right? But I think that the ethnic side of it, and you know, do people from ethnic minorities get easily into the wine trade? I say no. I think it's still very white dominated. How do we do that? I think the answer is a degree of positive discrimination. I think some of the stuff that Jancis Robinson's been doing to encourage, you know, wine writers, if you like, of color and people of color to come into the wine trade. We just need to make, you know, opportunities for people really, and to do tastings, just to make it less white in a way. But I think it's difficult. But the wine trade has changed a lot in that it used to be regarded as something that was very middle and upper class in this country. And I think now everybody drinks wine. It's more inclusive. But I think definitely this idea that, you know, we need more black masters of wine. I think we need more black sommeliers. We need more black wine writers, and all of those things. And we can all play our part, really. But I don't think there's a simple solution. If there were, you know, I'd click my fingers and that would be it. I think it's all to do with its attitude and how you live your life and how open you are to other people. You know, to other ideas, but also open to other people in every sense, from different cultures, and whether that be, you know, also different skin color, I think is probably part of that. And I think that what wine should teach you to be open, because wine is something that's international, it crosses borders, and it depresses me when people use wine in a slightly nationalistic way to say, you know, I'm English and I voted Brexit, for example, and therefore I only drink English wine. Well, I think that's not really the point of wine. I think the point of wine is to be international and inclusive, and to encourage conversations across borders, really. And if those borders are racial borders as well as physical borders, geographical borders, I think that's a good thing.
Your answer has actually made me quite emotional. I'm just
Oh.
like, yes, Tim, go Tim.
Good.
Hey, Tim. What are the three main things you look for in a wine in order to give it a very nice big score?
There's no recipe, really. I think that one thing would be it has to have a bit of a track record. So I think it can't just be the first vintage of something. It needs to be something that has proved it's from a good site. I think the second thing is that is balance, and balance is very subjective. You know, what's balanced to me might not be balanced to you. But you know, I want a wine that's balanced. That's to say, for me, doesn't have too much alcohol, oak. That feels, you know, that French expression. I love the French expression, être bien dans sa peau. You know, so the idea that you're good in your skin, you feel comfortable in your skin. I think great wines feel comfortable in their skin. They haven't got a skin, obviously, but that would be the second thing. And the third thing is that it moves me in some way. That it's an emotional experience for me. That it makes me want to jump up, you know, do a Sophie dance and then jump up and down and think, no, I just think this is amazing. You know, that it has to be an emotional experience. And if the wine doesn't make you feel emotional, if you're just analyzing it like I don't know, like a painting or something. If there's, well, no, painting's different, because a painting would do that as well. You know, if you're just analyzing it in a very cold, methodical way, and it's not moving you, then there's something wrong with you, or there's something wrong with the wine. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely agree. Your sip.
Sip. That's right.
Could you recommend 3 of your favorite places to drink wine in London?
Yes, I would. I mean, I'm quite boring, that I tend to often go to the same places where I like the restaurant and I like the people, and so I go a lot to Chez Bruce, which is a restaurant in Wandsworth, because I live south of the river. I go a lot to Enoteca Turi, which is a restaurant, used to be in Putney and they moved to Sloane Square. And I go an awful lot to Lobos Tapas, which is a tapas bar in London Bridge. Great tapas, great atmosphere, great wines. You know, I don't need expensive food for me to have a good time. You know, I often find that some of my best experiences are with food that's inexpensive, where I'm just happy, you know, and I like rustic food almost more than I like sophisticated food. Doesn't mean I don't like sophisticated food, but I'm happier in a place where I'm just drinking wine and with friends and enjoying basic food. So those three places I go to a lot, and I like all of them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yusuf?
Oh shit. Yeah. Yeah.
You have achieved success within your career. So could you give me 3 tips for anyone whose dream is to follow you in your footsteps?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite difficult now to be a wine writer because when I started, there were magazines, and you could start on a magazine and earn not a lot of money, but you could learn while you were writing about wine. Now it's quite difficult because you have to start, you know, as a blogger, and nobody pays you to do blogging. It's difficult to be an influencer and all those things to make money out of it. So maybe I would advise people to start maybe in the trade, you know, to get a job in a Majestic or somewhere like that, and learn about wine through selling it and retailing it, and then maybe move into wine writing if that's what you want to do. The 2 other things, and they sound contradictory, but they're not. One of them is to trust your own judgment. I think if you always believe your own judgment, it means that you have an honesty about your approach to wine. So never say you think something's good when you don't like it. You know, and the third thing, which, as I said, sounds a bit contradictory, but isn't, is to listen to other people. So listen to other people who know more than you do and learn from them, but don't be over-influenced by them. So be confident enough to say, you know, to disagree with people, you know, to say, do you know what, I don't particularly like that wine, you know. And even if somebody who's very famous says, like me, you know, I'm not saying I'm very famous, but, you know, somebody says, you must like this wine, and you don't like it, you could say, this guy's full of shit, you know, I don't agree with that. And that's good. I mean, taste is completely subjective, you know. Why do you wear what you wear? Why do I wear what I wear? You know, why do you like the art you like? It's subjective, and it's just taste. So I think always bear in mind that it's taste. And the last thing I would say is that wine's supposed to be fun. I mean, an Australian friend of mine, Bob McLean, who's dead now, but he said years ago to me that wine is 75 centiliters of fun. And never forget that it's fermented grape juice, right? Even if it's Chateau, you know, Latour, even if it's de Mandela, it's still grapes, right? It's just fermented grape juice with yeast, you know, and sugar in the grapes, and they make this elixir. But never lose sight of that, right? You know, I think don't be snobbish about wine. Don't use wine to belittle other people. Just be honest with wine and be honest with yourself, and I think it will reward you. And people who think like you do will find you, and vice versa. I mean, I don't like wine snobs. You know, I don't really like wine collectors. I find them a bit boring. People who use wine to show off about themselves, I find boring. So if I were, my advice to people would be to avoid those sorts of people and drink wine with people and appreciate wine with people whose opinions and whose sentiment and sensibility you share. Sip.
Very good answer.
Yeah.
And yes, no, I absolutely agree. For me, it's all about honesty. And this is why I also started off this podcast, because I want to do a wine revolution in my own way.
Yeah.
And try to really get into who are the people behind the wine label, who is drinking wine out there, and get people who are not necessarily in the wine industry also interested into wine. Yeah. And make it a mindfulness journey. Yeah. Because wine, as long as you find the quality which matches your taste, yeah, can be such a wonderful journey if it's all in balance and everything. And I truly believe them.
No, and I think that's exactly what wine should be about. Mm-hmm. You know, I think wine shouldn't be about 100-point scores or very expensive bottles of wine or showing off or huge cellars. It should be about the experience of a group of people sharing a bottle together, right, and saying, "This is great." You know, who wants another glass?
No, it's actually okay. So because we still have a little bit of wine in our glass, yes?
Yeah.
Shall we sing a little sing-along together, a little song? Like, yes, I am not very good at singing, but we can just have a little bit of fun with it. So you're going to probably be like so good and like Silver Light. I'm going to put the music on here. Red, red wine, yeah?
What key is it? What's his voice like? Red, red wine. Is it quite high, his voice?
You can go high.
No, I'll try.
I'm going to go, God knows what I'm going to go. It's going to go low. I'm probably going to put you off course. But yeah, just like, you know, a few sentences and we can finish our wine at the same time, yeah?
Okay, here's the red wine.
Here's the red wine.
Thanks for
So
inviting me on your
let's go.
podcast. It's been a laugh. Right, here we go.
Let's do it. Okay, if it works. Oh. Red, red wine.
Goes to my head.
Wine.
Makes me forget
But I still need you so. Yes, I need you so, Tim. Red, red wine. It's up to you. Oh my God. I will forget. Memories won't go. Oh goodness.
That was pretty good. Not bad. He's got a high voice.
We should definitely do karaoke together.
It's not quite a high voice.
Makes me forget. Oh gosh.
Well,
Okay,
those are
well,
great wines.
cheers.
Wines. 3 nice African wines. Thank you. Good luck with your move today. I know you're moving. That's been a lot of fun. Forward to the dinner with Catherine Deneuve and Brigitte Bardot.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jim.
Pleasure.
Lovely to talk to you today.
Bye-bye.
And have a lovely afternoon.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Bye. Bye.